podcasters who YouTube, oftentimes you'll see them in a setup like this, literally like this big, huge boom arm and this mic shoved up right in their face with headphones on. It's because they're trying to get the very best audio.
I mean, I've talked to so many producers, so many video creators. If the audio is bad, they think the video is bad.
Welcome to this episode of Think Like a Producer. It's the audio episode, and so I ceremoniously am still wearing the headphones that I'm monitoring our audio with right now, just to show you how important that is. I haven't in the previous episodes because I check it before we start recording, and then I've just taken them off and trusted, because I know my gear and the room we're in, that these aren't going to short out. But typically, best practice, we'll leave them here as a reminder and move my phone off camera. We've been real casual with these intro takes, as you can tell.
Doing what we do.
The most important thing to understand about audio recording when you're in a nice studio and you're, trying to up-level your production, you're not just at home. Sometimes it's easier to get good audio at home, honestly. I get great audio in my home office because it's a small carpeted room. We've talked about this on previous episodes. So it's actually more challenging to get good audio when you're in a bigger room with more going on, and you can probably hear the difference. You'll definitely hear the difference when we cut to the guest segment of this episode, because we're going to switch microphones, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But if you're in a bigger room doesn't have as much carpet and low ceilings and curtains, here's a few pro tips. One, you can invest in nicer microphones. So at home, you probably remember this if you watched season 1 of the show. I use a cheap microphone just to help people feel like you don't have to invest crazy amounts of money to get good audio. It's really more about the room you record in. So at home, I literally record on a $45 plug straight into my laptop microphone. And it's great because the room I record in is awesome. Now that we're in the studio, we've invested in nicer mics. These are Shure MV7s, and we also have a Shure SM7B, and I have a couple other microphones from home I could bring in, but these are nicer microphones that cost a few $100s because they are designed to really only capture the sound right in front of them. And you can see how close our mouths are to these mics. That's the design of the microphone. And if you've ever bought a nice mic, I do hope that you'll at least read the manual or the quick start guide, because they will tell you hey, here's how to position your mouth. Here's where to position your mouth. Here's how to check the readings. It is worth it to learn how to use your microphones, especially if you're investing in nice ones, because just turning them on isn't enough. You need to understand where the pickup is and the pickup pattern, and you need to listen to yourself and make sure that what you're hearing is what you want to sound like. Now, obviously, the actual live monitoring, what I'm hearing in these right now, is a little bit brighter and saturated than what my recording will be. But that's something I've just learned over time. You kind of have to train your ear to hear live audio versus recorded versus edited and finished. So that's why we suggest going to a good studio with good gear and learning what that sounds like and having someone walk you through it. So because we're doing this podcast focused intro to each episode, we sat down at our podcast table, put on the nice mics, and we're recording these segments so you can hear the quality that comes. This is why you see podcasters who YouTube, oftentimes you'll see them in a setup like this, literally this big, huge boom arm and this mic shoved up right in their face with headphones on. It's because they're trying to get the very best audio. And this is the reality. And there's a lot of different stands you can use. You don't have to use a boom arm mounted on a table. You could use a floor mounted, is that a C-stand? Where it just has the big arm that comes. It's more of what you'd see a musician.
It's more of a microphone stand.
Microphone stand, yeah. Thank you. If you have been at a concert, with a guitarist sitting on a stool, they're going to use, So we have one of those here too, if we ever want a guest to be able to get really good audio, but still be comfortably seated in a nice set. But this is what we wanted to show you for the first part. This is going to get our best audio. Obviously, you can hear it when we're about to cut to our guest segment. There'll be a change, and that's because we're changing microphones, and it's a different setup. So the best practices are choose the focus of the media you're about to create. Do I want this to be audio first or video first? And that'll help you decide whether it's worth it to put all of this extra in your frame, because if your audience is mostly going to be consuming the content you're making on audio, it's worth it. But if they're mostly going to consume the content on video, then we probably want to switch to something better for a set. So tell us about best practices for getting audio on a video set, Tiff. And there's a lot of them. We're doing the high level.
Yeah, I know. I mean, everyone's got different preferences. We've both worked with clients where they prefer to have the mic look, even though we know it's an audio quality that we prefer that there's a mic. But some people are like, no, I want to be able to, not that you can't use this look for social media, but they don't want a microphone in the shot. They don't want, a tripod or arm or anything in the shot. And so we would have a wireless microphone usually that we would put. And the goal with wireless microphones is, well, let's just say the hard part with wireless microphones is that I believe the term is omnidirectional. I might be saying it wrong, but you're picking up a lot more than with these mics, right? These mics are really trying to hone in just on your voice. Like Christine said, you have a particular position you want to be in, but with the lavs, it's like it's picking up a lot of the room. It's picking up, you can very clearly hear, Christine next to the person, even if she's not mic'd up, because it's meant to kind of record a broader, like a wider range of audio. But it looks better. So it's not like it's impossible. I think there's a particular, I want to say there's not a particular thing that people are really listening for anymore, in my opinion. When you're making YouTube videos and everything, it's like as long as it's not crazy, distracting, noisy, or, you can hear car horns or sirens or something in the background, most people are okay with a decent audio mic as long as it's close to you. And the other thing I want to say is just boom microphones. That's usually what I've seen on set a lot more in these last couple of years that I've just been, nicely stalking the audio guys and women that I've noticed, because I just look at how they are actually putting their stuff up on a C-stand. The mic is higher up and it's pointed down towards kind of like mid-chest for the person that's speaking. And it could be a scene, like sometimes, you see someone holding the actual, sorry, I'm not close to the mic. You'll see someone holding the boom arm and everything, and following. You can kind of see that behind the scenes with movies and TV and commercial. But that's also because those microphones are similar to these, where it's really only focusing in on what it's pointing at, what it's facing. And so it's meant to actually be a little bit better than the wireless setup, but people are mic'd up twice. So they have both. They have two options. You can have the boom arm and you also are wirelessly mic'd. I'm saying all this to say that there's a lot of options out there and you have to see what works best for you. A lot of YouTubers now who do have this kind of desk setup, I've noticed when they show the behind the scenes and they go through their microphones, they've actually decided to boom now so that they can still get the same quality, but the wireless mic with their shirt or anything like that is something distracting. And like Christine mentioned, if you are filming this by yourself and you take those headphones off, you are taking a risk, because there's a chance that you didn't hear or the mic cut out or something happened, right?
Just put these back on.
Put those back on. If you're listening, this is definitely the episodes to watch. But yeah, you're risking it. And I've been on set before, and it's, it's really hard to get away with not so great audio. So what I've done as a best practice for me and for any of the clients that I work with, not only will they be mic'd, whether it's wirelessly or have a mic in front of them, but also my cameras have backup microphones, because we've been in situations, unfortunately, where something happened to the audio, and it was something, even though you check and you've done it over and over again for years, things happen. And so having backup microphones on the camera, at least there's decent audio coming in that might possibly be able to be used and cleaned up and different things. But you just, it's an interesting place to be in when you're like, I want to invest in, thousands of dollars in a nice camera and a nice lens, but you're not putting any money into the audio. And people very clearly, I've talked to so many producers, so many video creators. If the audio is bad, they think the video is bad. If the video looks amazing, but people or decent or lower quality, like you record on your phone or something, but you have a decent microphone, you have it in a decent place, people will still be able to hear your message, hear what you're saying, and hear it clearly. That's going to be perceived as a better video. So audio over video, even though I am so into video. Audio is always king. It's always the first priority. It's always something I'm trying to learn more and more about. And it's worth having an audio engineer, someone who's there monitoring the audio. You're going to see in this episode, but also in previous episodes that we've had Sophie, the production assistant that works here at Workful Studios, or someone else that Christina's brought in as part of her team, because she has a lot of great people here that work at Workful Studios. But monitoring the audio, making sure everything's okay, while Christine coaches and produces and makes sure that the person is getting the quality out. So again, we're going to show you right now some of our best practices in this next clip on our YouTube channel. Again, if you're listening, this is definitely an episode to watch, but there really is, it makes a big difference when you have somebody else who's just focused on the sound, just making sure that quality is there so you can focus on the content of the story. You have someone else focusing on the visual. It's just nice to have a team. And we talked about that, or we will talk about that in a different episode. So I'm gonna wrap this up so we could go right into this next clip and we show you some of the best practices that we're using here at Workful Studios for audio quality.
Hey everybody, we're back on set and I'm here with my friend Connor Estes. Estes?
Estes.
Thank you, Estes.
Yeah.
This is why you need to check. It's worth it. Connor this is so cool. You're a local DJ and you teach podcasting and radio production at a really cool local nonprofit for high school kids. I've gotten to guest lecture at your class actually, which was like a total highlight. And Connor obviously knows a lot about audio, so we're thrilled he could come in to be our guest. He's right now going to be our model while I mic him. And then we're going to ask him some of his best pro tips for getting good audio, because you've done it in a lot of different scenarios that I haven't. I've never been a DJ or on radio. Okay, so what you can see, we've got our set and Connor's already seated. This is a lavalier mic, also known as a lav mic. You've seen them, I'm wearing one. And this is what we use if we want to have a video first production versus what you saw earlier where Tiff and I were doing audio first, where we were on the nice Shure mics. Obviously, the focus of this video is Connor in all of his beauty and glory, and so we don't want the huge mic with the boom and blah, blah, blah. So this is one option. Tiff mentioned in the intro, you can also have a boom mic like you've seen, behind the scenes of films, but these are great because they're tiny and you can just clip them right onto your shirt and you can get really good audio, way better than you would trying to get audio straight from the camera, even though of course Tiff has backup audio on her camera. So as you have probably seen if you ever watched behind the scenes, the best way to get a mic onto your shirt is usually running it up under like I did earlier. And it all depends, and this is where wardrobe comes into play. Connor conveniently is wearing a button down. I didn't even tell you to do that, but it's perfect. As you can see, this is actually a good placement, and you'll hear if I touch my mic, it's not perfect, but this is kind of an ideal position because it's not too close to my mouth where the sound is getting caught here, and it's also not like over here where it's gonna sound terrible. So this would be an ideal placement, but depending on the wardrobe of who you're miking, sometimes all you've got is the top collar. If you're a woman, you can sometimes run it up and attach it to your bra. We did that yesterday with a couple of our guests. But if you don't have a bra, then you just make it work, and people get really creative. The nice thing about Connor is we could literally just clip it to his lapel because he's got a button down. So when actually you think about wardrobe for shoots, think about your mic. And that's why some people choose a boom mic instead. They don't want to deal with wardrobe limitations. So this is an option for lav mic. That's what we're showing you today. So Connor, do you want to just clip it to your lapel, and then I'm going to just easily hide the cord because it's small, and we'll just put it over here. Now, we could have had him button his shirt and we could have run it up there, but no, I think this is good to show. There's easy ways to hide a cord, and they're delicate. Like, these little guys aren't going to be, but sometimes like right here.
You want to go up or you want to go down?
Well, let me show. Tiff should really pop in here. So one way we could do it is tape it right here to his collar. We've taped inside the collar before, just a little Scotch tape or whatever tape you have on hand. We can also, like Tiff was saying, Tiff, come on over. Show us your ways.
More so just to run the cable down.
So let's do this version. And we'll kind of put it under your hand and under here. This is why you need to have good energy because you're kind of getting up in people's business and you need to ask permission if you don't know them. Thankfully, Connor knows who I am, and I hope he feels safe and secure.
I do.
Thank you. Okay, so you can see that's a really clean way to do it. Tiff just ran it kind of underneath there. And because of the shot that we're currently taking, we don't need to worry about what's happening on the lower half. So it's really easy to hide this. Literally, I can just tuck the mic pack right here. And when Connor leans back, it's holding it in place and you can't see any cords, right? Like this is a great shot because this is why it's convenient to do torso up. If Connor was standing and we needed to get him full body, we would have to be a little bit more thoughtful about hiding that cord. That's where you sometimes pull in tape or pins, run it under the shirt, but this is easy peasy. And you can see here, you always want to be watching out. And that's what a production assistant or the video camera operator is always checking for. Did the mic cord slip out? How is it going? These are the things you want to look out for because nobody wants to record a great video and have the cord slip out in the last half because it's distracting. So this would be a great mic setup for Connor. So Connor, we're going to ask you some pro questions and everybody can hear how you sound now that you're mic'd with the lav mic. We will also show you a little bit behind the scenes. We're monitoring this audio off camera. Right over here is our awesome production assistant, Sophie. And so she's using a Zoom recorder and we've got all the mics plugged into there and she's monitoring it at all times. So we have a dedicated person whose whole job during the shoot is to make sure that the mic is sounding good. If something happens and Connor gets really excited and starts to like hit his mic, she's gonna say, hey, pause. We need to get clean audio, do another take. If somebody's mic cuts out, she's gonna notice that. This is why you want Sony monitoring the audio. Okay, I'm gonna get off camera so you can have the whole camera to yourself and I'm gonna ask you a couple questions.
Awesome.
You're a great model, thank you.
Thank you.
We purposely left the mic pack off just so you could see. So
That's
this is, let's just we're gonna keep this in probably. This is so normal. Tiff and I and Sophie, we've done tons of shoots. It's so easy to forget to turn on your mic pack. This is why you have someone monitor the audio. How many times, Tiff, have I forgotten to hit record when it was my job to monitor audio?
I don't have a number, but that's what teamwork is for.
Teamwork. I will tell you, Tiff has reminded me multiple times to hit record. And so, like, you just need a team. That's why you're in the studio. Okay, now we can hear Connor, and now we're gonna ask him a couple of questions.
Every single situation, even if you think you've done it before, is completely different with audio. Even if it is in the same studio that you've worked in or it is at a different location. So I think having mental checklists of always going through things, because I think we've all recorded projects or done projects and not recorded them and then regretted later that those didn't get recorded. So I try to have that mindset going in every time that this is a fresh, I've never done this before, but still coming in really fresh and making sure that I'm adjusting for any scenarios or different sound quality. So it's kind of more of a rule of thumb than necessarily a specific thing, but I think it's helped me a lot to not lose projects, or have bad audio or things like that.
So there's our audio episode. It's still high level. We're not trying to overwhelm you, but I hope you can tell that it's totally worth it to have people on your production team who understand the basics, at least, of good audio. Tiff gave some really good insight earlier in the episode. You've seen now with Connor, actually the logistics of using lavalier mics and thinking through your space and your look and how to make that work. So don't skimp on the audio is the main takeaway. And also don't overthink it, because if you're making content for digital platforms, specifically YouTube or some of these more informal platforms that have become super popular, know that if you've put some good effort into audio and some good effort into video, it doesn't have to be perfection. It doesn't have to be film quality. We certainly aren't trying to achieve that here, but we understand what the priorities are and what's going to make the most difference. And so we focus on that. So please subscribe to the channel, because as you've picked up so far in this season, this is a season worth watching. This is very hands-on. Check out the rest of the episodes, and for sure, let us know your comments and your questions, because we hope these videos are a resource for you for years to come. And we'll see you on the next episode of Think Like a Producer. Am I on? Do you want to check?
Does he have a mic?
Oh, no.
Do you want me to put it on for this?
Find a separate person on set who like.
Getting started early. I just cut Christina off my bed. But yeah.
That's fine. Fine.